show. This is the two Dum Yinzers. This is episode 671. I want to say to everybody this morning, welcome back. We got a special guest on the show today. We're heading into the big playoff game this Saturday night against the Ravens. Wild card round in the playoffs. And who better to get on the show than somebody that wore both of the uniforms? Everybody, we do have a special guest today on the show. Right beneath me on the screen, you will see a gentleman that's not always on the show. Everybody say hi to Corey Ivy. Welcome, Corey.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello, my man. So you spent time on both teams, both the Steelers and the Ravens. The Ravens a little bit more, and also you spent some time under Coach Tomlin during your time at Tampa Bay while winning a Super Bowl ring. I got to tell you, Corey, you managed to land on a lot of teams that had really good defenses. Is that coincidence, or are you just a defensive guy that loves to play good defense and you end up on these really good defenses?
I mean, a little bit of both, man. I was truly blessed to come into the Buccaneers organization, which they were predicated off their defense. And like you mentioned before, the defense did lead us to a championship back in 2002. And then I had a year hiatus where I went to the St. Louis Rams, which was a totally different mindset. They are offensively driven with the greatest show on turf at that time. We were awful at defense, really, but we managed. But then I went to Baltimore. You know, Baltimore has always been predicated off a great defense, and it was just picked back with kind of where I left off in Tampa.
Absolutely. And also you mentioned, because I'm very, it's very clear to me, the 99 Rams team that won the Super Bowl, greatest show on turf, and then the Baltimore Ravens came in 2000 with their defense, and then the 2002 defense of Tampa Bay. You just don't see much anymore those teams that are able to dominate by way of defense as the Ravens did in 2000, as the way you guys did in Tampa Bay in 2002, and go on to win Super Bowls. A lot of time now, it's, now that the Tom Brady era is gone, but during the Tom Brady era, it was either him, Peyton Manning, or Ben. Now Patrick Mahomes is obviously winning a bunch. Do you see it getting back to that point ever, Corey, where it can be, a team that is totally defensive based, like the Buccaneers, like the Ravens, like the Steelers usually are? Is it possible for a team to win the Super Bowl anymore with that kind of that style?
It's going to be difficult, because even in our defenses, when I was in Baltimore from 2006 to 2011, man, it was hit or be hit. It was total physicality. There was no such thing as targeting or a defenseless player. If you had the ball, you were trying to separate the player from the ball.
Right.
So it really has changed. It really has changed primarily for the offensive benefit. But good defense can definitely be played still. But you got to really take into consideration, because a personal foul call, man, that can definitely change the momentum of a game, as we've seen of the non-call in college football with the Texas-Arizona State game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that was a huge swing there. And even still, though, like, to win a Super Bowl, you still need a pretty good defense. Because, Kansas City, everyone wants to talk about their offense, but their defense is pretty underrated. They're usually like in the top 10, top 15 overall, but nothing to like the Ravens defense or like the 2008 defense that the Steelers had when they went on their run. So like you said, I think it is truly going to be hard to just be defense dominated to win a game. It's the way that like the league calls everything. You never know what's going to be a pass interference or not anymore in the league. It has to be hard as a defensive player.
Yeah, it would definitely be. We always talk about it all the time, man. When we get together, how would we play defense? And they say that they would just play, but they would have to adapt to the rules. But man, it's different when your instincts take over and you've been taught all the way up until that, try to separate the guy from the ball. So by really any means necessary. So it would take some adapting to, but like you said, Baltimore, man, they're predicated on not only a good defense, but physical defense, inflicting as much pain as it is that you're trying to on your opponent, and making them kind of tap out and not wanting to play against that week against Baltimore. So it was definitely a persona that we had, and our coaches encouraged it. And that was just the physicality. Like you all said, man, football has definitely changed even over the past 5 or 6 years.
And as you were saying, Corey, I mean, something that you learn when you're a young kid and you take through your whole entire life, basically how to play defense, how to tackle guys, how to wrap guys up, get them down. And as you do that your whole life. You're going through, mighty mites and midgets and high school and college and you get to the pros and you're doing this at such a high level. You're working so hard to get there and you're moving fast and there's 10 other guys moving really fast around you. And how do you make those adjustments? I mean, is it something you have to really sit down and let sink in and say, okay, I can't do this anymore? Or do you just kind of go out there and play it by ear? And because as I said, that, and Mike said, the game's changed so much and it stinks because a lot of things take advantage away from the defense because it's such an offensive league now. Maybe that's why we're not seeing championships coming with defensive based teams. But how do you handle, especially as I said, some things that you've probably done since you were in twerps as a kid when you're in the NFL? How do you make those adjustments?
I don't know how I personally would make those adjustments now. I'm glad that I don't know, man, because really if you do your job and you separate the guy from the ball and it's in a violent manner, they're going to fine you. They're going to take money out of your pocket. So guys are really thinking about that before they make a bang bang play. They're going to get fined. And of all people, John Runyon is the guy who you have to deal with the fine. He was one of the dirtiest players in the game. So it's definitely I wouldn't say it's definitely a lose-lose situation in that matter because you don't want to get money taken out of your pocket because as we all know, the NFL career they could end just like that.
Mhm.
But you have to make a conscious decision to just make the play within the rules. You can't hit them up high, but if you hit them low, people will say you're trying to take their knees out.
Yep.
So what is the
Right.
correct thing that they're looking for?
You're right, and that's how I feel bad for you guys because we're here in the watching on TV. We love our Steelers. Baltimore Ravens fans love their Ravens. Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, so on, every team. And for teams like us, we always kind of prided ourselves on good defense. So it's making us think to ourselves, what is it that we have to do? Do we just not pay the TJ Watts? Do we just not pay the Cam Haywards, the Minka Fitzpatricks, and get some more weapons on offense? Which obviously the Steelers do need to work on their offense. But is that where it's going? Just have a good enough defense. Make sure you invest money in a quarterback and hope for the best. Because again, it sure seems to me that it's just become such an offense happy league. This is what they want to see now. They want to see the ball thrown for 300, 400 yards a game. And so it's unfortunate. Again, from Pittsburgh, playing in Baltimore a lot of your career, Tampa Bay. So it's I feel that. I feel that. I think the fans feel that. And we all kind of have to adjust as well as you do because I mean, obviously we're not doing the hard work, but again, it's a whole different change in the culture for a Pittsburgh, for a Baltimore, Tampa Bay, teams like Philadelphia, teams like this. Now, let me go back a little bit and rewind on this, Corey. Now, back in the early 2000s, you did play for defensive coordinator Mike Tomlin,
I did,
correct?
yes. He was my secondary coach. As a matter of fact, he was the secondary coach, and Raheem Morris, who's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, he was his assistant.
That's right. Okay. Now, when you played for Coach Tomlin, of course, I mean, he was a younger guy. You didn't really know what was going to come of anybody's future out there. But was there anything that you seen about Coach Tomlin early on at that point in your career where you thought, this guy's special? He just might be something in the NFL.
Yeah, well, he always kept it 100% real. If we weren't doing our job, he wouldn't just say that somebody in this room doing the job. He would say, Corey Ivy, you're not doing your job. You need to pick it up here. He always was 100% real with us. Always told us the truth, no matter good, bad, or indifferent it was, man. And we gravitated to that. So he was a young guy, like you said, at that time, just getting into the pros. He had a good run at Cincinnati. And once we knew that he knew what he was talking about, he had our full attention and it always pushed us to be the best that we could be.
And you know what? It's sure obvious because you mentioned he was your defensive backs coach. Whatever you guys did, whenever you put that team together for that 0-2 run, it was amazing. I remember watching this particular game and that playoff run, and I remember thinking, what, the Raiders are so high scoring. They're so bang bang. Rich Gannon was back there hitting Tim Brown. I mean, he had a bunch of weapons, Jerry Porter, the whole way around. And I thought, and even I took the Raiders in this game.
Oh, that's
but you guys came out and surprised. The only reason I did, Corey, because they were scoring at such a high rate. I thought, the Raiders are probably going to be able to outscore these guys. The defense is the strength. If the Raiders could score, Tampa then with Brad Johnson has the burden of trying to come back. But you know what? Boy, was I off. You're right. I was 100% wrong. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go out there and just dominate the Raiders. And you know what? Becoming one of the best. And anytime I talk about a team with a great defense, that Tampa Bay 02 team certainly pops up, along with Baltimore's 2000, Pittsburgh's 08. There's just so many. Chicago's 85. I mean, you could even throw them in there, of course. But it always falls in those top 5 teams defenses. So whatever you guys did with your John Lynch's and your Rondé Barber and who else you guys have? Warren Sapp. You guys were loaded. And I got to tell you, at the end of the day, after I realized that I was wrong, I certainly appreciated that Tampa Bay and that defense and what it was that they were able to do. Because I tell you what, you guys were on that whole other level. Like I said, you could probably put about 5 teams on.
Yeah, and we were definitely a loaded defense. We were playing. Coach Monty Kiffin kept it simple and had us playing fast and furious. And not to mention, though, Gruden just came from there the year before, so he knew the personnel, he knew the language, he knew what Rich Gannon liked to do and what he didn't like to do, because he sees him every single day, and probably picked his brain and all that. So we had like a cool insider trading, if you will. So we definitely were prepared. We didn't get a week off like they do now. It was when we beat Philly that Sunday, and that Monday morning we were on a plane to San Diego. So it was definitely a quick turnaround, and we were definitely prepared, and we just definitely it was really our day, and the rest is history.
And these guys were able to knock off a pretty good Philly team just to get in. Philadelphia had they went to 4 straight NFC championships in that particular time. So the Buccaneers, it wasn't like they were this fluke team. These guys really went in and handled your business. And as I said, with no disrespect to the guy with Brad Johnson under center, that just speaks more volumes to what the defense was able to do, and where the strength really came from. I don't think people really fearing Brad Johnson, but you know what? Nobody wanted to face that Tampa Bay defense in the early 2000s.
Right. Matter of fact, that year, we were hoping that we didn't play Pittsburgh, because we played Pittsburgh on a Monday night later in the year, and they shut us out at home 17-0. And we were like, man, this team is really physical. They had Antoine Randall at wide receiver. They had the Bell guy that played linebacker from Georgia. They were really a physical defense. And they, matter of fact, they scored a defensive touchdown that game on the Monday night game here in Tampa. So that team, if we would have played them in the Super Bowl, man, that would have been definitely a knockdown, drag-out fight. But we ended up playing the Oakland Raiders, and we're successful.
That probably would have been like a 3-0 Super Bowl with both those defenses going at it.
I know, right?
Yeah, I specifically remember the game, as you mentioned. It was a Monday night down in Tampa, and I got to be honest, I wasn't feeling real confident because we weren't playing great football that particular season, and I remember thinking Tampa's defense is so good. There's no way we're going to get down there on a primetime game and beat them guys. Much to our surprise, we ended up walking away with the win, but I certainly remember that very well. Let's jump over to the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers rivalry. Of course, you played more time in Baltimore. I could speculate because you see and you hear and but the question is, what's the intensity like in that locker room in Baltimore when it's time to play the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because I looked up a couple of things, and we come across, you did get an interception against the Steelers, and what is it that what do you guys do in Baltimore whenever you're getting ready for a Pittsburgh game to get fired up? Because as I said, plays in a Pittsburgh Baltimore game are at a premium. To get an interception, it's always a huge thing because the games are always so tough, so tight. What is it that the Baltimore Ravens did to get themselves ready for the Steelers?
In 2006, my first year in Baltimore, man, it was a totally different Pittsburgh week. It was a little bit different around the building. We come in and they have shirts that are hanging up in your locker with the raven on it that has the middle finger saying "Fuck Pittsburgh." Sorry about that, but they have on the Raven shirt, and it was like, I was like, wow, it's kind of like a college rivalry week. So we played them twice that year. It was Coach Cowher, I think maybe his last year. Yeah, I think it was his last year in 2006, and we swept them at home.
Yeah.
So I mean, we swept them that year. So it was definitely a heated rivalry. The next year was Mike Tomlin's first year when we split. Then 2008, if you remember, it's kind of like deja vu. They beat us 3 times that year.
Yep.
And to get to the Super Bowl, they beat us Monday Night Football, then one time in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, it was Sunday Night Football, and then the AFC Championship. So it's a heated rivalry, man. It's physical. It's played how football is supposed to be. Knockdown, drag out. Ryan Clark, who's a good friend of mine, who I took a official visit with to LSU. So we've known each other since we were 17, 18, 19 years old. And he knocks out Willis McGahee.
Yep.
I get cracked back by Lyman Swede. Ray Lewis breaks Mendenhall's shoulder, man. It's a very physical game. And luckily, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, they were just keeping the physicality of football alive with those two franchises ran by two great coaches, as in Harbaugh and Mike T. And it's always a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Now you were there for the layover of the Brian Billick Harbaugh change then, correct? You played for both of those guys. What was the main difference between the two coaches? If you had to say, I mean, obviously you could tell what their styles are and they're different, but what is a player? How did you guys respond to that?
Probably with Billick. Billick was an offensive guy, man. He really just catered to his offense and let Rex Ryan and all the other assistant coaches run the defense. When Harbaugh came, he tried to bring a more of a cohesive group. He always was trying to push the offense to play to the standard of the defense, if you will, the physicality. And if you remember back in Harbaugh's first year, which we went to the playoffs, I mean, we literally just ran the air out of the ball. We ran the ball so much and brought a physicality to offensive physicality to the team. So both of them were a joy to play for, man. We had great success and just two different styles that we had to adapt to.
Yeah. How, now watching back, seeing your coach, 15 years later, you seeing any differences in him? I mean, some people when they get a little bit older, they tend to lighten up. Some people don't. Is there anything when you're sitting there watching the game on Sunday, you look at your coach and you're like, man, he never used to do that, or when we were there, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's like night and day with Harbaugh now. When he first got there, he's a new coach, first time being the head coach in the NFL. He really tried to put his stamp down, and we were, I guess you want to say, stuck in our ways defensively. So during training camp, his first year, man, it was almost an anarchy during training camp that he was working us really, really hard. But we got over it, man. It's all football at the end of the day. But yeah, I've heard that he's changed tremendously since he first time stepped in the building. He's trying to put his stamp on the things, and you know what? It's worked. So who can complain?
Absolutely. Now, you guys, you were, I think, one of 26 or 27 people that actually wore both the Steeler and the Raven uniform in your career. Let me ask you this. When you sit down on Sunday, who's your team? I mean, it can be even a team that you grew up with, or do you prefer one of the teams that you played for? Who would you consider your team?
I really root for teams that I played for. Really just Tampa Bay and Baltimore, since I've been the longest teams there. So I had a lot of success. So those two teams I really cheer for. The Steelers, I kind of caught them at the end of my year. I was just there for a couple of weeks. And matter of fact, we played Baltimore.
Yeah, right.
So I guess they brought me in to try to get a little insider trading. But and then we played at Baltimore. I think it might have been a Sunday night game. I think it was a Sunday night game that we went up there and played. And it was kind of different, dressing in the visitors' locker room. And,
I can imagine.
Walking out the visitors' tunnel and all that kind of stuff. People will recognize me and they say, man, you're in the wrong uniform. So, but at the end of the day, it's all business, and you go where they're going to write you a check.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different how the way they went about things. It was really, at the time that I was in Pittsburgh, it was really a laid back atmosphere and things of that nature. So, and I had a little history with Pittsburgh before, because if you remember in 2006, when I was with Baltimore, we played a Monday night game in Denver, and I got injured, and we had to do an emergency landing in Pittsburgh. And those people at the hospital, man, they took really good care of me. They even brought me a terrible towel and all that kind of stuff. So,
good.
I know it was
awesome.
Christmas, I guess, right? So it's always I have definitely love for the city of Pittsburgh as far as taking care of me when I was really at my lowest point, injured and didn't know what the future held. And, Mike T is there, so I always have a special place for him, man, believing in a young kid who was an undrafted free agent. Ended up playing 11 years in NFL. He took a chance on me because my performance definitely dictates whether he's hired or fired.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
right.
he believed in me, and he always holds a special place. I hope he wins every game except when he plays the Ravens, of course.
Right. Let me ask you this real quick, and I'm going to let Mike ask some questions. Now, you had mentioned, the Steelers brought you in briefly, maybe for some inside trading. Let me jump back to the offseason acquisition this year. We bring in Patrick Queen, which I didn't think would have happened in a million years, getting a star linebacker from the Ravens come to the Steelers. To what extent now? Because we had Deontay Johnson. He went and took a short trip over to Baltimore a few weeks back. A couple other guys over the years. Arthur Millette, also one of the later ones. But like I said, 26 different. You're the 27th different person that wore both uniforms. To what extent are they able to pick somebody's brain when they bring somebody in briefly like that? Because that's always been a question of mine. It's like, okay, well, they brought in this person. It has to be because this is who they're playing. But I mean, somebody doesn't go into a opposing teams or into a locker room and just spill their guts of everything they know about another team they played with. To what extent is the information being traded by in that
Ryan,
situation from a
actually, they
player
do
in a new
spill their
team?
guts, man,
Oh,
because
wow.
there's no loyalty. There's no loyalty in professional football. You're trying to go out there and get a job, do a job, and you're getting paid
Yeah,
rather well to do a job. So I'm sure Patrick McQueen, when he went over there, he had all his notes that he'd taken from the Pittsburgh week, and he shared those with the
yeah,
offensive coordinator. So, I mean, that's just how the NFL is. You never know where you're going to end up or who you're going to be, who you're going to
right,
face. So, you do want to win. You play the game to win, and you're getting paid a good king's ransom to win. So, he's probably told him everything. What snap count? Because when we played
right.
for Baltimore, we had a few keys on Ben Roethlisberger. So, and they asked me, did I when I got to Pittsburgh, what were those keys? And I mean, you were trying to win. You're trying to win really by any means
Right.
necessary.
Yeah.
So nothing's off the table.
Hmm.
And as much as a team sport that it is, Corey, as you said, you're looking out for number one ultimately because it's your life, it's your career. You want to make the team, and you go to a new place. Yeah, I'll give you the information that you want because I want to get in here. I want to be able to get my opportunities and show you what I can do. So I can see that's very interesting because over the years, you always thought to yourself, how much do you actually get? I mean, the information has to be minimal, but it's really interesting to get that kind of scoop.
Yeah,
Mike, what
I
do you
got
got
a
here?
couple questions. I'm going to start with which coach do you think is under quote unquote like more pressure? Because I went back and looked at both their playoff records. Like since they're both Super Bowls, both coaches are 3-6 in playoffs, and great regular season success, great success to get the teams there. But that playoff success, both fan bases, I'll read stuff coming from Baltimore fans that say, "Is it time for Harbaugh to go?" And there's segments of Steeler fans, is it saying that say it's time for Tomlin to go? Do you think both coaches are under pressure, or just maybe it's Tomlin, maybe Harbaugh a little more with Lamar Jackson probably going to win his third MVP, and they have stumbled in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, the pressure comes with the opportunity, man. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. Not a lot of people can say that. And
No.
in pro football, he has been above 500 every single year for what 17, 18
Yeah,
years now.
18.
And
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harbaugh, he's done his thing over there in Baltimore too. So Baltimore really, I thought last year was their year to get to the big dance again, and they got upset, if you will, at home. Um, everything was all the chips were stars were aligned, but Kansas City came in there, man, and they really did what they had to do to come out with a victory. So I wouldn't say that any pressure is upon them because who better are you going to get than Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin to be your coach?
yeah.
If you
You're
fire
right.
them, then you're going to be playing against them next year with some other franchise. So those coaches,
Exactly.
they know exactly what they're doing. They have a blueprint, they have a plan, and they just got to go out there and execute it.
And that's, here in Pittsburgh, a lot of times, after, we haven't won a playoff game since 2016, and fans, they start to talk, well, let's get a new head coach. This guy is not winning the big game. But I always say, how you have a team, you have a coach that has proven himself, as a coordinator. He won a Super Bowl. He has never had a losing record in the NFL. How do you know that we're going to get something as good as him or better? You don't. You could get a guy comes in, he wins 3 games for the next 5 years, and that's a whole new problem. So what would you say to fans that are just, that again, we're starving for a playoff win, Corey. It's been a while. It's been 2016 since the last time the Steelers won a playoff game. What do you tell those fans that are ready to put Tomlin's head on a platter? Because again, as you said, nobody goes through 18 seasons without having a losing season as a coach. It's unheard of. What do you tell those fans? Because it gets to that point here in
Yeah, I mean, you really got to tell them, welcome to life after Ben Roethlisberger. Because I mean,
Yes.
you've had Mitchell Trubisky, you've had him starting for you. You've had a bunch of guys you had Michael Vick, the ageless Michael Vick starting. I mean, it's never probably going to really get like Ben Roethlisberger until you draft a guy who comes in there and wows the Pittsburgh faithful. Y'all are high demand. Y'all are used to winning, so it's really just life after Ben Roethlisberger. You got to get it right within the draft, like you did with Roethlisberger, and once they do that, everything else falls into place.
Now, are we in a catch-22, Corey? Because it takes a not so great season to be able to get yourself a pretty good draft pick. Now, we've had a coach that's been here that hasn't had a losing season in almost 2 decades. So that puts the Steelers in this situation now. If you want to try to get that, one of these top quarterbacks, it becomes difficult because, for one, you're never in the top part of the draft.
Right.
For two, it's tough. I mean, we've seen just to move up X amount of spaces to get a center, you got to give up a lot. So are the Steelers really in a catch-22 with the situation that they're in? Because again, the coach makes it to the point where we're never going to be able. I'm not going to say we never can, but to this point, we never have been able to really get that good draft pick. And on the other hand, if and how else would you go about getting that guy? I like to call it the quarterback that you're talking about. Every team that has that guy, they seem to win a lot of football games. So, is it going to be difficult for the Steelers to land that guy? We came off of a pretty bad season in the early 2000s, the year before we got Ben. We were lucky we got the number 9, number 11, whatever it was, and we drafted him. How difficult is it for the Steelers now to go out and get that guy with the good coaching situation?
Yeah, either you got to move up in the draft with some draft picks to get that guy, or get a guy you think via free agency who can come in there and be impactful right now, knows he's the guy. But I don't know how the Ravens got so lucky to draft Lamar Jackson. They struck gold. They struck lightning in the bottle, if you will. So they got their quarterback for the next 8 to 10 years. So Pittsburgh, I don't know what you could do. You could, like I said, you could draft. You could move up in the draft because like you said, you're always picking maybe 20 through 32.
Right.
And by that time, all the quote unquote elite quarterbacks are gone. So you just have to.
And anyone that kind of
that's probably an answer to one of the front office guys.
And you know what? Or you could, get lucky as the Patriots did 25 years ago and land a Brady in the 6th round. I mean, what's the chances of something like that happening?
That probably will come in another 25 years.
Right?
You're right. Hey, you know what? That Patrick Mahomes, he's a pretty darn good one, though. So let's go back to the Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers. As you said, you played the Ravens when you were here in Pittsburgh. I recall, I think Mike was reading off some stats. He said that you had an interception against Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
I remember that. When I was doing research for the interview, I'm like, I remember that exact play. The look on your face, pointing, our guys all dejected. Yeah, brought back a lot of bad memories.
I was just doing the job, Mike.
Yeah,
I know. I'm trying not to take it personal.
And Mike is under the weather, even though it might sound like he's beginning to cry or get emotional. He is a little bit under the weather, so that's what's going on with him over there. But yeah, the quarterbacks in the NFL nowadays, as I said, there's probably about five top quarterbacks. These guys, your guy kind of guys. And everybody else just doesn't seem to have a chance, Corey. I mean, your Buffalo Bills are one of the teams. Your Kansas City Chiefs are one of these teams. Philadelphia, they all have their guy. Is that something in the NFL that you just have to deal with? I mean, you got to have a quarterback of that caliber if you're going to be seriously considered a Super Bowl contender anymore. I mean, it didn't used to be that way.
The way of the world now. Like you said, if you look at everybody in the playoffs, man, they have a legit quarterback. So even a young Bo Nix, man, who's knocked the socks off the NFL so far. So if you want to have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl, compete for one of the 7-8 playoff spots, and now there's only one bye, man, you got to have a legit quarterback who not only can manage the game, but who can spin it around a little bit. It has a little bit of mobility.
Absolutely. And look somebody like for a perfect example, what we're talking about, it just not being, it's all about the offense anymore. But look at what they did over in Kansas City. One thing that's kind of thrown me off this season is that team, that offense has not scored over 30 points. They played 17 games this year. Kansas City's offense have not scored over 30 one time. Now, people think about Patrick Mahomes, people think about Kelsey, uh, all the guys that came through there the past 5 years. You never think of that defense. But at the end of the day, if the offense has never scored over 30 points all season, look at what that defense did this year in Kansas City to only lose one game. One game they lost, and didn't score over 30 one time. What's that say about that defense?
I mean, this is very opportunistic, man. They play complementary football in Kansas City. If you're going to give them the run, they'll run it. They'll run it. They'll run it. If you give them a pass, then Mahomes will take it with Worthy and Kelsey and those other receivers that he has. So and then they got Isaiah Pacheco back. So man, it's a jack of all trades with the Kansas City Chiefs, man, and their defense with Chris Jones and those guys over there, man. So they play very complimentary football, and they take advantage of the turnovers and they create points off those turnovers. And then they got a great defensive coordinator in Spags, man. He's one of the best in the business, and he knows his guys' strengths and weaknesses, and he definitely plays to those.
Absolutely. And, I mean, listen, me personally, once Tyreek Hill and, that first wave of players that Mahomes had around him, once they left and split ways, I thought, okay, now you're going to start to see a decline. This team just managed to get better and win and win and win every year, no matter who came and went. Sometimes it was just him and, the tight end, Kelsey out there, with injuries, and this team still found ways to win. How much of that, you kind of just explained it in a nutshell, but I mean, how much of that is that great defense, and is why is that defense not talked about, obviously, because of course a lot of times you're talking Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey when you're talking about that team, but why is that defense not recognized, Corey?
Like we were discussing before, man, the NFL in 2024 2025, it's an offensive league, so everybody wants to say how great the offenses are and all that kind of stuff. But also it could be the culture of the Kansas City Chiefs, man. It doesn't have to be pretty. All you have to do is win by 1 point every week.
Right.
It's much easier to go in the meeting rooms on that Monday and make corrections after a 1 point victory than it is after a 1 point loss. So in the NFL, there's no margin of victory, no strength of schedule. Yep. All you do, man, is win one game by 1 point for 16, 17, 14, 15 weeks, and you'll be number one in you don't have to leave your forbidden city until the Super Bowl. So it's definitely a culture that Andy Reid and Spags has presented, and you just held to a certain standard when you step in that building.
Absolutely. And you know what? If we could, the thing is, it just sounds so simple when you put it that way. But then there's 31 of us other teams out there scratching and clawing just to get the win that we need. It's truly amazing what they are doing over there in Kansas City. No two ways about that. Corey, let's hop back over to the rivalry. Now, this game, this coming Saturday night, the Steelers and the Ravens, they play again in another huge game. I mean, every game that these two teams play in, it always comes down to something. I don't think any of them has ever been meaningless, but this one, of course, in the playoffs, these two teams, what's the Steelers going to have to do? Now, don't get me wrong. I understand where they're both sitting and, the public opinion on both of these teams right now, but what does the Steelers have to do, in your opinion, to stay in this game, to keep it close enough to where maybe at the end they could punch out a ball, get an interception, block a field goal, things that they've done over the past 5 years, because they beat the Baltimore Ravens 8 out of the last 10 times. As unbelievable it is to say, it's unbelievable. It's totally unbelievable. But what would the Steelers have to do to continue that success in the playoffs this weekend? Because we've seen what happens when the Baltimore Ravens impose their will. What happened last time we played them? They beat us 34-17. One of the most lopsided Ravens-Steeler games in a long time. What does the Steelers need to do in the state that they're in to be able to stay in this game, to not let it get to where it got last time?
Well, it's going to be a hostile crowd, which really doesn't matter because the crowd doesn't win any games. They're just loud noise. So you're probably going to have to, if you're the Steelers, you want to come in and definitely impose your physicality. Even though Baltimore is physical, you want to probably try to run the ball. George Pickens didn't play last game, so he might be available this game. And Baltimore itself has some injuries on their offense and defensive side of the ball. So it's definitely going to be a chess match, man. You probably want to do what you do best, and that is run the ball with Najee Harris and Warren, and take your shots with George Pickens if he's healthy enough to go, which I'm assuming he is. So, and then they have the other receiver 19, and then you have Watt and the rest of those guys on defense. So they're going to go into a hostile environment, run their game plan, which is probably run the ball to try to state the identity that, hey, we're here and we're physical also. And Baltimore is going to try to reciprocate, and it should be a battle. I was at the last game a couple of weeks ago, and it was definitely a electric atmosphere. I'm sure it's going to be more electric, even though it's the first round of the playoffs, and it's going to be good to see.
Now, what mental approach does the Baltimore Ravens come into this game against the Steelers? Now, obviously, the Steelers offense has a lot of holes in it right now. There's a beat up young offensive line. Some issues obviously that we've been dealing with on offense. Does the Baltimore Ravens come in with the mindset that we're the Ravens? We have Lamar Jackson, we have Derrick Henry back here, or are they take a more precautious approach and say, but this is a Steeler Ravens game. We have to treat this like a chess match? Or are they going to come in and just try to, do what it is they do and score a lot of points doing it?
Yeah, man, they're not going to stray away from whatever the game plan is. They're going to, when they step out of their cars and walk across the street into M&T Bank Stadium, it's attack, and the Steelers are over there. I'm going to use the Tomlinism. They're nameless, faceless objects over there. So, man, we're here to do a job, even though it is Pittsburgh. Let's not make it too big of what it is. Like I said before, you got to win by 1 point, about 30 points just to get to the next week to stay in the tournament. So,
Right.
It's a rivalry. It's like every guy who's over there on Pittsburgh and every guy who's over there on Baltimore, which every rivalry they played in college is probably that multiplied by a little, because this is one and go home. So nobody wants their offseason to start Sunday morning. So it's going to be definitely a knockdown, drag out fight, and I'm going to be here in Tampa watching it. I'm not going to make this one.
Hey, you know what? Maybe pull out one of them terrible towels they gave you whenever you were up at the pit stop in Pittsburgh there.
Trash somewhere.
Oh. But also, do you have like a crazy story from the series between the two teams? Did anything ever happen along your career where you thought, wow, that is just that's Baltimore Pittsburgh classic right there? Anything stand out to you?
Well, I got a little. Okay, so we're playing. As a matter of fact, it's the AFC Championship game, and I'm down there. I have a previous relationship with Mike Tomlin, so I'm chopping it up with him before the game. And Kevin Colbert, who's the GM, I don't know, is he still the GM?
No. He retired 2 years ago.
No.
He was the GM at that time, and he had his son down there, and his son was looking at me, and I'm looking at his son, and I tell him, "What the fuck you looking at?" Mike Tomlin always reminds me of that. And Kevin Colbert, whenever I used to see those guys around, he'd say, "You told my son that?" But I was just caught up in the intense moment, man. And, I do apologize.
No, that's awesome, man. So going into this weekend, Corey, any what's your prediction? Plain and simple.
It's going to be a good game, man. You never can underestimate the Steelers. You can never underestimate the Ravens. I don't care where they're playing. They could be at the University of Maryland. They can be playing at Penn State. They could be playing anywhere. So, home field advantage. I mean, it is what it is. It really doesn't matter in this rivalry. It's going to be
right.
It's going to be bloody. You're going to be sore come Sunday morning. It's going to be, and this one really counts almost like extra, because like I said before, either you win or you're starting your off season.
Right, and nobody wants to do that.
I would like to see the Ravens. I think the Ravens are more healthy. They're more solidified at key positions.
Right.
A la the quarterback position. Russell Wilson struggled the past 4 weeks, going 0 for 4. Hopefully we can make it 0 for 5. And Lamar Jackson is playing his best football right now. He's spreading the ball around. Definitely going to have a turnover battle. Whoever wins the turnover battle, if any, can go. But our kicker, he's starting to come back around. I'm referring to Baltimore. So, man, it's going to be probably a low-scoring game. I wouldn't say it wouldn't reach the 30s, maybe a 28-21 game or 28-23, something like that, man. One possession game. So it might be a low game. I don't know what the weather is going to be. It's going to be cold, so elements won't play a factor. Both teams are used to the frigid air. So whatever it is, man, I hope Baltimore wins.
Now, I always say, no matter what, and it's very rare that both of these teams aren't good in the same season. But I always say, even if a team isn't that good and the other team is good, it doesn't really matter because it's a Pittsburgh and Baltimore rival. When they go out there on the field between the lines on Sundays, it's always this tough, low scoring, kind of an ugly close game. And it's, as I said, I mean, there's been times when we had a poor season and Baltimore was doing really well and vice versa. And it just doesn't seem to matter. Those two teams always put out grade A football when it comes down to them coming out on the field and playing on Sundays. I think it's going to be close. I think the advantage goes. I think in order for the Steelers to gain advantage, it's got to be ugly. It's got to be low scoring, and it's got to stay close. I don't think you want to get in any kind of game where Baltimore, gets up on you big early, and Russell and company has to have that burden of trying to get back into the game. I think they have to keep it as a AFC North battle. Again on the ground, hard hitting, ugly, if you will. I recall the first time we played Baltimore, and it's not going to happen again. But Justin Tucker, as you mentioned, the kicker, he missed a couple field goals. So in that way, those kind of ugly things I think need to happen throughout the course of the game for the Steelers to gain advantage. But being prepared for the playoffs and moving forward, I think Baltimore is certainly in a better position. They have their guy at quarterback. They have, arguably one of the best running backs in the league. So that's where I base that off of. But in my opinion, in order to keep this, in our ballpark, it has to be ugly. It has to be hard hitting. It's got to be low scoring, and it's got to be close.
Yeah, just like the first game of the year, when the first time they played, Pittsburgh won. They didn't score offensive touchdowns.
Right.
They didn't score a touchdown. So missed kicks happen, interceptions happen, but you just gotta persevere, and it's gonna be a good one, man. Come Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we do want to thank you so much, Corey. It was super awesome having you come on, my man. Getting stories from behind the enemy lines, if you will. Also,
Right.
being a guy that worked so close, with Mike Tomlin in his career, won a Super Bowl with Mike Tomlin early on in your career, and giving us great insight on the board. I'm seeing a lot of people that's respecting and loving the answers that you're giving and in the honesty. So I do want to say to you, Corey, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time out on this morning to come and talk with us on the Two Dum Yinzers. We appreciate you. Our door is always open to you, my man. And for as far as Saturday, I'd say let's go Steelers. But you know what? At the end of the day, we'll see how it plays out, and we'll go from there. We don't want to go home Sunday. You guys don't want to go home Sunday, so we'll see how it matches up, and we'll go from there. But Corey, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on. We appreciate you. We hope that you have the greatest New Year, and you and your family as well. Thank you so much.
Guys, having me, man. I would tell you good luck, but I wouldn't be telling.
I totally get it. Totally get it. Thank you so much, Corey. You and your family have a great New Year. Enjoy the game. All right, take care. So that was Corey Ivy, everybody. That was a lot of fun having Corey on to talk. I know the guys are giving me some hell on the board, but you know what? He's an ex-player. And we did get some good scoop off of him. He was here briefly in Pittsburgh. He played under Tomlin in Tampa. Most of his career, a lot of his career was in Baltimore, but it was really great to get that behind the line scoop. That's what I wanted to get from Corey. One more time, thank you so much, Corey, for stopping by. Really awesome. Hope he does well.
That's our second Super Bowl champion on the show.
And those guys were number one in their football league. Derpy is number one in our hearts. Derpy, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, Derpy.
Yeah, we got to give Derpy a clap as well.
Derpy has the clap. Is that why he's been out? Derpy has the clap.
It all started with Peaches. Let me see. I just want to go through a couple. Let me see if I see anything that really stands out, guys. I listen. I appreciate every single message. I always do. Let me just try to find a couple that might be highlighted here. Mr. Tummy says, I've been a fan since 1972 and have 6 Super Bowls to show for it. You can't order Super Bowls next day from Amazon. True. Also, along the way, guys, I do want to say good morning to Jen. I want to say good morning to Field of Steel. I want to say good morning to Yinzer Joe, Mr. Tummy, Let me continue up the list here, see what else we got. We were talking about the quarterbacks getting drafted early, how tough it was to get a guy and a decent pick. Yinzer Jose as well. Even drafting a Mr. Irrelevant could sometimes pan out. That's very true. Good morning to Roger. He says, I'm seeing Isaiah Likely is out and Flowers is doubtful. Hate to celebrate injuries, but I'm celebrating. We just got to take some. I agree. Hey, more of them, more Ravens out, the better for us.
I didn't see the Isaiah Likely one on the injury report yet, but hopefully he has an updated one, because that would be, like I said, you don't want to celebrate it, but that's huge. That kid is a great number 2 tight end.
Listen, it's football. I know I don't celebrate the fact that they're hurting life. I celebrate that they're hurting football.
They're out of the game. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark Malone. I'm sorry. Mark Malone says Tomlin is lubing up for another playoff race. You know what? Very well may be.
I'm not. They're both 3-6.
I'm not rolling it out. Well, one's our coach. That's the one I'm worried about. Let's hope that we can pull it off. Good morning, Corey Beavers as well. He says you don't go into the playoffs with no momentum and win in the playoffs. I agree. You got to have some kind of momentum. The NFL scheduled us the way they did to screw us. They knew what they were doing when they did it. One of the many things they do. Also, good morning. Okay, there's Corey again. Corey says Russ is going to do just enough to keep his job, but not win the game. So just so fans could say, look how close we were this time. Russ is our best chance. That's a very possible as well, Corey. Roger says it's harder to win 5 games in a row than it is to lose 5 games in a row. I can't agree more. Phil Steele, come on, Ryan Sheesh. You're interviewing a former Ratbird. Let them know. Yeah, you got 8, but we got 90. 90 will make that play. Absolutely. And let me get to this top one here real quick. Phil Steele says, hey, Derps, saw you on Mike Drop Sports. That guy don't know about the boom. Guys, one thing about Lamar, I remember because, I'm a Pitt fan, obviously, and we played Louisville for many years. And when we faced Lamar Jackson when he was here, I remember telling my son, I went down to, because I was watching the game, and I went down to his room and I said, dude, this quarterback coming out of Louisville, he is going to be he's going to be a thorn for many years. I just hope he doesn't go to the Ravens. And sure as shit, where did he go? To the Baltimore Ravens. It's my fault.
It's your fault. Like my thing, like with Lamar, when I was watching him at Louisville, I was like, man, if he can ever get his accuracy under control, he'd be deadly. And these past 2 years, he's up there in completion percentage. And it's like, oh, why do you have to figure it out? They needed to move on from him. He can go figure out elsewhere, outside of the conference, outside of the division. But as a fan of football and a fan of athletics, he is so much fun to watch. Especially when we contain him, when we hold him in check. That's the most beautiful thing in sports.
Enough Baltimore Raven talk. What, Derpy?
I would like to clarify some breaking news.
Yeah.
The beep is back.
Oh, the beep is back, baby. Guys, let's get off the Ravens. Let's get off the beep. I want to talk about something here real quick. It's good, it's bad, it's ugly. The good is Chris Boswell and Miles Killebrew named to the NFLPA All-Pro team. They both got the nod for the All-Pro team. But the bad news is Chris Boswell missed practice with an illness.
Yeah.
Can we afford to not have Chris Boswell in his uniform on Saturday night, Mike? Today's Thursday. He missed practice yesterday. I don't know today yet, but the flu or whatever could be going around. Everybody on the show is kind of dealing with something. Mike Derpy, is there any way we win this game without Chris Boswell?
No. Because we saw like
that was clear.
You just go back like the history of this series, man. That every point matters. There's very few blowouts either way. Like that last game, that was an outlier. That score, you don't see that very often. You have kickers making the kicks to win game, or like in the previous matchup this year, one kicker missing to sway the balance. So yeah, they need Boswell. We can only hope, Mark. We can only hope.
Phil is still listening. I agree 100%. He has a terrible record against us, and he does terrible against us. As a matter of fact, most of the time he fumbles a lot. He's just not that good against the Steelers.
Kansas City, man. Yeah, he can't. Those two teams he cannot compete
but
against.
I just always thought to myself, imagine thinking prior to he got to the NFL, just thinking the guy with everything he could do being in your division. That's what I thought. I thought, oh my God, this guy is going to be a constant threat. He's not. We've certainly played him. And another thing I thought was even if we could hold Lamar, down as we do, what's the chances you could do it long term? You're switching players, teams changes, mindsets of the team, players, things like this. I thought at some point this guy's going to dominate us. You know what? We've been very fortunate to this point because, as Mike said, he just everybody beside Pittsburgh and Kansas City, he's able to do what he does. Mark Malone, any new midget porn videos, Derpy? Derpy, your Aunt Peaches, what happened to her friend, the midget that she used to hang out with?
I am not gonna reply to that.
What tells me is that Derpy has signed numerous NDAs and is not allowed to discuss what goes on between Peaches and the midgets.
I think his smoke alarm tried to tell us.
I think so too. Like, it's in Morse code. It's not like a set beeping pattern. So is Peaches using Morse code through the smoke detector? That's what I want to know.
Yinzer Joe, Hayward played sick with the same cold balls will play. I hope, but you know what? The skill of kicking a football is different. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not that. I'm not a kicker or a 300-pound guy, so it's hard for me to say. But you're right. I mean, hopefully that's the case, and hopefully it won't affect Ball's skill set.
I want Balls to go out there, game on the line, shit his pants, and kick the game-winning field goal at the same time.
as he
does, because that would be like, you know what? People are like, oh, you pooped your pants. You'd be like, I want a playoff game, bitches.
Like when Joe Paterno shit his pants running across the field.
Yeah, and he go running off the field.
We need a good We need a good pants shitting story.
You know what? Lamar had to get the cart. They had to cart him into the training room because he had to poop so bad.
What's up, brother man? Good morning to you. Brother man says, "What up, everyone? Steeler Nation for life." That's right, baby. Phil Steele, he's not going to do it this Saturday. Watch, I have 1,000% faith in TJ Watt and Steelers defense. Just watch. You know what? I'm going to trust you, Phil Steele. Yeah. I'm taking your word this week. Brother man says, cannot believe defense finally played and showed up on offense. Keeps letting us down. I mean, until we spend some more money, brother man, we're going to have to. I mean, this is going to be the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, let me give you some numbers here. Since 2016, since our last playoff win, we had 2 different GMs, 2 different defensive coordinators, 4 different offensive coordinators, 6 different quarterbacks. This team has been pretty consistently whatever this is. I mean, again, we're finishing over 500 every year. However, we're not winning. We haven't won a playoff game. It's 2025 now, 9 years. So, they have to at some point figure this offense out. They're paying mad money out to the defense, and the defense is only going to carry you so much. They can only do so much. They can't do everything. So at some point we have to figure out what we could do to change this offense for the better. Yeah. I know the answer. You know the answer. We know the answer. You have to go out and get that guy under center. Yeah. You don't get that guy, you're not going to be one of the upper echelon teams. It's just the way the league is anymore. Corey agreed with us earlier on the show, and it's just what you're seeing. If you don't have that guy, with the exception of the Philadelphia team that won a couple years back over New England and the Rams team that beat the Bengals, look at every team for the last 15 years. It's always teams that has that guy, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, back through Peyton Manning, back through Ben. So, I mean, let's be real with ourselves. You have to go out and get that guy. If that means cutting some fat off the defense to do so, that's what you got to do. You don't have that guy, in my opinion, you don't stand a chance. But that's just my opinion. Phil Steele says, brother man, all season defense has made stops in offense F's it up. Brother man says, good players, but cannot drop passes or miss catches or throws. Steelers keep beating themselves, which is disheartening. That's very true. And it always happens against the teams that they shouldn't be beating themselves against. They in other words, you want these teams to beat you. You don't want to beat yourself when you're playing Kansas City, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and even, Cincinnati for that matter. So, you are right on that. So we got Chris Boswell. We don't know what's up with him. We do know that Zay Flowers, I heard was the one that was out. And
he's still listed as did not practice for 2 days in a row. So that's leaning towards he's probably going to be out.
Okay. So that's, that works in our favor. We'll take that. As I said, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but you know what? As long as they're not playing that day against our team,
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with their injury.
You can get healthy literally the day after.
McCormick and Frazier both get the nod to the all rookie offensive team, what more can you say about them two guys? Not surprised about Frazier. McCormick, I am a little bit more surprised about. But you know what? He got thrown into the Wolves very early in the season. And at the end of the day, this team is over 500. This team is going to the playoffs, and this team did fall out at the very last moment, dropped out of the first place, winning the AFC North, all that. And that was all with McCormick at the guard position, which I think is certainly encouraging, Mike. So Frazier and McCormick, both on the all-rookie offensive team they were selected to.
Exactly. Yeah. And just imagine, like, if Troy Fatano had been healthy and he could have played,
Right.
they potentially could have had 3 guys on there. But the 2 tackles that made the team would have been tough to crack too. But excuse me. But yeah, that's a good sign that McCormick is getting recognized how well he played. So that's looking like a solid 4th, 5th, 6th round pick we got out of there. Guys that he's already a year ahead of schedule, and then you get Fatano back next year. Line hopefully starting next year will be more cohesive than this year of bouncing around. So that's awesome. Well done, McCormick.
Absolutely. Guys, also, here is the count on playoff wins. The top 5 teams in the NFL, according with playoff wins, guys, it only varies between 36 and 38 wins. San Francisco all-time has the most wins with 38 wins in the playoffs. New England and Green Bay tied with 37, and Dallas and Pittsburgh both with 36 wins in the playoffs, trying to extend that. Of course, San Francisco's not in there. New England's not in there. Dallas is not in there. So just Green Bay is the only team that could really move up on that one against the Steelers. So if they could bring it this week, guys, let's get a win. Let's get a win, Mike. We're due. We haven't won since 2016. That would be nothing better if the Steelers go out there and just do what they do against Baltimore, get the win, and get back on track. Also, Mike, around the league, these 5 teams could be the first. They're their first Super Bowl win if the Chargers, the Texans, the Lions, the Bills, and Minnesota, they are also able to get their first Super Bowl wins ever. They're the 5 teams in the playoffs that could do so. Mike, any of those teams seem like an interesting
What did I do to you, P?
Let me get to that in just one second. Is there any teams of those 5 that I mentioned, Mike, that you feel have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year?
Oh, I'm sorry. Which 5 did you say?
The Chargers, the Texans, the Lions, the Bills, and the Vikings.
Ooh.
Those are the 5 teams that could all win their first Super Bowl.
Lions and the Bills have the best.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think 3 of these teams could win.
Minnesota would be the quote unquote
Minnesota, the dark horse. Buffalo and Detroit could win, and the other teams I don't think stands a chance.
No.
Let me grab a couple of these here. Let's see. Just run a step stool already, Derpy. The change of smoke detector.
Change the light bulb or change the battery, man.
True, but discipline goes a long way. Absolutely. Fearless Steel also says keys to victory this Saturday. Arthur Smith shows he has some balls. Defense blitzes the crap out and goes after number 8. Well, you know what? This Arthur Smith apparently is a hot commodity in the NFL. A lot of teams want to make him their head coach. I just don't know what they've seen that he did this year in our offense that would make them want to make him the head coach. But notice the teams, guys. It is the Jets and it is the Bears.
We had a 4 or 5 game window where we were putting up 30 points.
They were against the Jets and the Raiders.
I know.
We scored over 33 times.
Hey!
It was against the Jets, the Raiders, and the Bengals.
Dude, man, the NFL coaching for owners are like, "Oh, this guy's a genius. Let's get him." What did I see? Great comment from Mark Malone. I lost it. There's like, Derpy, you weird ass. What kind of person would keep that beep in their life?
Who said that?
Mark
Malone.
Malone.
What?
Mark Malone is cracking me up, man. I'm seeing a bunch of his messages like that.
I just want to know. Like, I think the same thing. What the hell? How can you live with that beep? I would go crazy after the 3rd consecutive.
We only have to hear it for an hour. He has to hear it all the time. You know what I mean?
I ignore it.
And midget porn watchers will put up with annoying shit like that.
All right, guys. All right, so we have to figure something out here, everybody. Apparently, we came down to a tie for our picks last week. And it came down to the tiebreaker, and you guys both overshot on the tiebreaker. So it was so what we're going to do
Let's flip a coin.
Mike, I don't even have a coin. I didn't even think of it.
Oh my God.
Mike, you got a coin?
I have a coin in reach.
All right.
1 second here. My kids played the other day is in the way. I got a penny. I got a lucky penny.
All right, so Derpy,
That'll work.
you're gonna call it. You're gonna call it in the air. Mike, you'll flip it. Derpy, you call it. If it lands on what you pick, Derpy, you win this week's picks. If you know how it goes. All right, Mike. So here we go. Derpy, you call it in the air.
Heads.
All right. Is that heads?
That is tails.
All right.
Dang it.
I can't tell with this crappy lighting. I'm sorry, everyone, but that is
No, you're
tails.
fine.
I'm not Derpy. I'm not going to screw you over, bud. But
Yeah,
no,
I mean, it
was
came down to
tails.
the second tiebreaker. Once you get to that, that point, I mean, it's all up in the
There
air.
was
Congrats,
no
Mike.
tomfoolery here. I did not cool down the envelope like they did in the NBA, so Patrick Ewing can go to the Nets or anything like that. There's no tomfoolery.
Let's see. Phil says, "Cool how Derps isn't picking on the baldy." Man, Phil's in rare form today. Jen says, "Derpy, please change the battery for me. I had a house fire, and my husband and 7-year-old. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I really am. Derpy will get on that. Let's see, brother man. He says not on Smith or Tomlin, but players especially offense got to show up and show out. Joe said the offense has started 0-16 on opening drives. That has to stop. They will have to produce on offense. And you know what, guys? We ran the ball on first down in every single drive in the first half of the game. There's not one play that they didn't run on first down. That's not very smart. And another thing, and I think I have the answer to this, but whatever happened to the play action?
I was just about to say, you're not setting up the play action because you're not using the play action.
But what I think is this. I don't think the offensive line is going to give. Here's the thing. Russell Wilson holds on to the ball way too long as it is. Can you imagine if you had to take that extra step in a play action? I think that's what it is. He'll turn around to throw the ball, and there's going to be 3 guys on his ass. So I honestly think that's what it is. But we thought the play action was going to be something that could work to our advantage this year. You don't see it.
It worked.
You don't see it, Mike.
It worked for the longest time, and they started to get rid of it, man. And it's frustrating because it worked. It worked a whole hell of a lot because that was like that quick out route that one of his check down routes would be to Darnell Washington on the flat, and it worked. Those were easy 5,
I
6,
just think it's
7 yard
timing.
plays, man.
I think it's timing. I really do. He's just so slow in the pocket, and like I says, even Mike, when he's not taking that extra step on a play action, he turns around. There's already guys busting through the line. We got problems. There's no two ways about it. We do have problems.
Yeah, the line play. My God,
it has to improve.
Like when say one about Dan Moore, but that first half of the year, he was playing at a high level. So is Sayamalo, and those are your 2 veterans on the line. In these past a handful of weeks, I want to say about 6 weeks, those 2 have regressed, man. They've been very inconsistent. That was your strong side of the line. And then Frazier was doing well. Then you dealt with the right side. Now that left side has completely fallen apart. I don't want to say completely fallen apart, but they've both regressed in their play, been very inconsistent. And that, I think that's the huge factor too of why we're not going to get good push in the run game, why we're not being able to go play action, and why they're getting a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. I think, that all plays into it, Mike. Let me move on a little bit further here. Now, let me ask you on the board this, guys, and Mike and Derpy. Let me ask you this. Which is more of a letdown? The 11-0 start meltdown, or this 10-3 start meltdown? Which one disappoints you more as a fan?
11-0.
11-0.
Starting out in 11-0, and
yeah.
And what do we win? The rest of the way?
Yeah, because that kind of, and we were still kind of playing the same type of ball then. They were tight games, lucky bounce here or there, and then in that letdown, every receiver forgot how to catch a ball. The defense couldn't make plays, the offense couldn't make plays. I think Ben's turnovers went up. It was just a complete mental snap. And then this one, we had lost 2 early, lost 1 here, bounced back, and then you had the 4-game losing streak. But that 11-0 one, that one for me stings the most because you had Ben, who wasn't in his prime, but you can tell that he was starting to be on the downside of his career, but still had a lot of football left in him. That one stung more for me.
Brother man on the board says it's a 10-3 for him. Also, Phil still says the 11-0 season for him. You know what? I think it was this year because I had a little bit more confident. When that team was 11-0, there was a lot of times I really thought, oh yeah. How did we win that game? And when we were at 11-0, I thought, how did we even get to 11-0? Because you recall, it wasn't that great of a season. We weren't playing that great of football. This year, I kind of had a little bit more hope for this team. I thought bringing in some of these new players that we brought in the offseason and free agency, I expected more of an improvement when, in fact, we finished with the same record as we did last year. And, I think this year disappointed me a little bit more overall because I seen it with that team. You seen it coming. This team, I expected a little bit better from last year. And did we really get it? Yeah, but no, but yeah, but I don't know. So that's where I'm at with that. Derpy, which one of those 2 games disappointed, or which one of those 2 seasons disappointed you more, the 10-3 of this year or the 11-0 start a couple years back?
I'm going to switch my answer. I'm going to go this year.
For this one?
Yes. Because the stretch.
And Brother
The
Man
last
saying
4 games.
Brother Man saying 11-0 was not really a letdown. We didn't seem to finish. But you know what? It was so weird that year. Everybody forgot how to catch footballs, and it was just it blew my mind. I didn't know what was going on, but neither one good. Let's see what we could do on Saturday night, guys. We have to get into these picks. Derpy, you could Mike, you have to pretty much win out, I think. I don't have the amount of weeks counted and where we're at with the score, but I do know that you have to, you got to be pretty successful here in this last month of picks.
I got this. I am
He's
built
got this.
for, I'm like the Kansas City Chiefs. My regular season does not start until the AFC Championship game. And that's when it matters to me. So I'm like them. This is my preseason. So
That's a bold strategy, Cotton.
It is bold strategy, and we'll see if it pays off.
Derpy's got a big his big high school reunion tonight, but it's via Zoom. It's not even like go and see people. It's like a Zoom call.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Derpy, could I get on that? I want to see this whole thing play
I want to
out.
get in
I
on
be
this.
honest. All right, let me get these scores up, or these games.
People love me. They'll think I'm someone. I'll go as you, Derpy.
Your mother loves you. I know that. People, though. All right, guys, here we go.
That might be a stretch, too, with my mom some days.
So we're going to hop to the 4:30 game on Saturday, guys. Of course, the picks list is a lot shorter today than it usually is. Excuse me. We're going to start. Mike, you did win. Do you want Derpy to pick first, or are you going to pick first?
I'm going to defer to the second half.
All right, Derpy, you're getting the ball first. Here we go. First game of the weekend, 4:30 on Saturday. Which is very odd because the first 3 games are all AFC games. The last 3 games are all NFC. I don't know why they didn't integrate and mix the 2. They usually do. But Derpy, here we go. First game of the weekend, the Chargers at the Texans. Derpy, the Chargers at the Texans. LA being the wild card team, of course, and the Texans did win their division. Derpy, Chargers at Texans.
I would normally pick CJ Stroud, but I'm going with the Chargers.
All right, that's interesting, Derpy. All right, Mike, over to you. Same question. Who's going to win this football game between the Chargers and the Texans on Saturday?
Derpy just be stealing my thunder, but I'm taking the Chargers. I think their front 4 is going to be too much for that Texans O-line to handle it. It's just atrocious.
All right, guys.
Play from that O-line.
All right, I'm going to skip over the Steeler game because we'll come back to that for the tiebreak at the very end. Guys, the Broncos at the Bills is the first game on Sunday.
Ooh.
1:00 game. The Broncos, they're no stranger to cooler weather up there in the mountains. Mike, Derpy, Broncos at Bills. Who do you like in this game?
Ooh, Bills.
All right, Mike, same question to you.
Quarterback.
Ooh. Yeah,
Broncos at Bills.
I'm gonna go Bills, but I want to throw it out there. I would not be surprised if the Broncos
it might be
pull
a
off an
closer
upset.
game.
That's like me saying, Mike, I want the Steelers to go all the way, but I wouldn't be surprised if the
I wouldn't
Chiefs,
be
the
surprised.
Bills, the
I'm just throwing it out
Vikings,
there.
the Lions, the Eagles,
like
or any of
I'm
those teams win.
95% in on the Bills.
I'm like
but there's a
100% sure
5%
like one of those teams will win.
Yeah. No, but no, I'm putting it out there. It wouldn't surprise me if they pull off an upset.
All right.
I would agree.
All right, guys. The first
Brother Man agrees. He's like upset alert. Chargers and Broncos win.
All right. Derpy, back to you. First NFC game. The Packers at the Eagles. This should be a good one. Didn't they play last year in the playoffs? Packers at Eagles.
It really depends on if Hurts is playing for the Eagles. I don't know how. I want to pick the Packers.
I think your alarm picked the Eagles, though.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go with the Eagles because their defense.
All right, Mike. He picked the Eagles. Who do you like in this game between the Packers and the Eagles? It's at Philadelphia. It's a 4:30 game on Sunday. Who do you like?
I am gonna take the Eagles.
All right,
taking the Eagles, maybe.
All right, guys. Second NFC game of the weekend. This game is between the Commanders and the Buccaneers. This should be a really good one, actually. Down in Corey Ivy's neck of the woods. They're down in Tampa, guys. Derpy, Commanders at Buccaneers.
That could go either way.
I think you got two pretty good quarterbacks. That's going to be a fun one. Who do you like?
Man.
Right?
I'm not sure, brother man, on that Jordan Love.
I think I'm going to go with the Bucks, the more experienced quarterback in Baker.
Okay, Mike. Same question over to you. The Commanders or the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay?
Give me the Commanders in an upset.
Ooh.
All right.
I just checked the report. He's questionable. Jordan Love is, brother man.
Okay. Last NFC game. This is my favorite, the Monday night game. I love Monday night playoffs. Some people that I know do not like it, but I actually like it a lot. Playoff football on Monday night. Come on.
I love it.
Guys, next question or next game, Derpy, is the Vikings at the Rams. Monday night, 8 o'clock. Derpy, Vikings at the Rams. I think this is going to be a really good one, too.
This could go either way, too.
Uh-huh. But that Rams team, they're sneaky good.
Right. They also have a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah. And they keep finding ways to win and get in the playoffs and do all these other things. So, Derpy, Vikings at the Rams. It's in LA.
I might have to go with the Rams because of the home advantage and the quarterback experience.
Is that where you're going with the Rams?
Yes.
Derpy, so you picked two LA teams this weekend. Two teams from LA to win in the NFL playoffs in the first week. I like it. Mike, over to you. The Vikings at the Rams. Derpy picked the Rams. Who do you like?
Oh, like Derpy said, it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a close game.
I know, Mike.
I know. I think. Oh God, damn! This is a tough one. Give me Minnesota. Give me Minnesota. I think their offensive firepower, it's going to be just enough to pull it out.
Brother man, I agree. Brett Baker always seems determined. I think the Cleveland Browns were stupid. I think they were stupid to get rid of that guy. I don't know what they're thinking. That's Cleveland. Also, he says Bo Nix and Daniels are both rookies and might not be ready for the playoffs. Also, Sam Darnold hasn't been to the playoffs, but his team is good, so it could go either way. All right, guys, we're going to hop back to the only game we didn't pick yet between the Steelers and the Ravens, guys. And this one, of course, we are going to get a score for our tiebreakers as well. Derpy, let's come to you. Steelers at Ravens, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. I need a prediction and I need a score. What do you think?
I'm going with reverse psychology. Give me the Ravens.
All right.
24-21.
Oh,
24-21. All right, so a total of 45 points for Derpy. And this time around, Mike, Baltimore Steelers in Baltimore. What do you think?
21-18, Baltimore in a last-second field goal.
Oh, man, this is good. This is good. All right.
Just by going by averages, just that's how close these games are. Blowouts are an outlier in this series. So,
all right, Mike got the. And then he got the 39. So I'm going to put this away until after the Monday night playoff game is done. That is in the vault. Guys, a couple of things before we do move on here. The college football playoffs continue tonight. That's right, tonight. The Penn State Nittany Lions, they will be taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This game is at 7:30. Mike is fired up. That's his Nittany Lions team.
Oh, yeah.
The winner of this game goes on to play the winner of Derpy's team, Ohio State and Texas, who they play tomorrow at 7:30. So there is a very good, there's a chance that Derpy's team and Mike's team could go at it in the national championship on the 20th. Out of all the teams in the college football across the land, it's insane that you two could face each other. But yes, tonight, Penn State, Notre Dame, 7:30. I can't wait. And then also Ohio State, Texas tomorrow. It is the Final Four, guys, of college football. Watch that play out and see who will be playing on Monday, January 20th in the national championship. Also, Mike and Derpy, the Penguins were back in action tonight. They took an L on Tuesday night. They lost 4-3 in a shootout to the Blue Jackets. However, they get a chance to get back in it tonight where they host the Edmonton Oilers tonight at home. Mike, a couple big things about this Penguins team. Sidney Crosby became the all-time face-off win leader over the past couple days. He has more face-off wins than anybody in the history of the NHL with 15,183 face-off wins. Nobody has ever had more. And one other thing, guys, if you do go to the game on Saturday, now they play tonight, but then they play Ottawa on Saturday. Mike, Derpy, it's round 2 of the Yarmer Yager bobbleheads. That's right. This Saturday, you could go to the game at 4 o'clock against the Ottawa Senators and get your second chance if you didn't get last year. Your Yarmer Yager bobblehead Saturday. Get down to PPG Arena and get your Yarmer Yager bobblehead, Mike. If they're not heisted, prior to the game like they were last year,
keep that semi truck under lock and key.
Absolutely right, Mike. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about the website?
The 2dumyinzers.com. Check it out, everyone. We got all of our social links over there, especially if you're new. Check it out. Merch store there. The blog may or may not be coming back. I got extreme writer's block, guys. But yeah, everything else is over there. So the 2dumyinzers.com. Check it out.
The blog may not be back, but Derpy's Beep will always be back.
Derpy's Beep is eternal. You got to get that fixed, bro.
One other thing, guys, I did miss. Pitt Panthers will be facing off against the Duquesne Dukes in the opener of next year's football season. First time since 1939. There'll be a city game between the Pitt Panthers and Duquesne on August 30th. Guys, August 30th, those two teams. So they've finally taken the Ohio State approach and are going to pick some garbage teams from around the state to play for the first 3 weeks. This year they played teams from big conferences and stuff. So I like this. Let's get these wins early, and maybe we could end up in these playoffs one of these years. But Mike, you ready for some trivia?
I'm ready for some trivia.
All right, guys. Of course, this is how on the show we do how well do you know the enemy. This is Baltimore Ravens questions this week. Mike, Derpy, put on your thinking caps. Guys on the board, everybody at home, here we go. Question of the day. Baltimore Ravens question. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, when playing at Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a 21-12 record. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a 21-12 record against the Ravens when playing them in Pittsburgh. Do the Steelers have a record over, the same, or under 500 when playing in Baltimore? The Steelers have a 21-12 record playing the Ravens at home. On the road, though, where we play them Saturday, do they have a better record than 500, a 500 record, or below 500 when they play in Baltimore? Take a minute to think that over. We're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every day on YouTube right here. All right. I'm going to start with you, Mike. The Steelers have a 21-12 record against Baltimore all time at home. But we're not playing at home. We're playing in Baltimore on Saturday. Do the Steelers have above 500, a 500, or below 500 record when they're playing in Baltimore?
Under.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
All right. Mike is locked in place. Derpy, over to you. Same question. The Steelers hold a 21-12 record advantage over the Ravens when they play them at home. But the question is, when we play them on the road, is our record against them above 500, at 500, or below 500? Mike says under. What do you think?
Under.
Under as well. And is that your final answer?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Here we go. Question of the day. Steelers have a 21-12 record against the Ravens all time at home. But on the road, do they have a record that's above 500, 500, or below? Both of the guys here on the show, they both said under. The answer to the question is, guys, the Steelers hold a slight advantage, 15-14.
Wow.
Overall, while playing in Baltimore. The all-time record is 36-26. 36-26. All-time, Steelers hold the overall advantage. They're 21-12 at home, and the Steelers, guys, they do have a slight advantage in Baltimore, 15-14. So,
really,
yes, interesting. Very, very interesting. Guys, anything before we start getting ready to wrap things up for today?
Just Phil's comment right there, picking versus our Steelers. Thought ping pong players only did that. What the F?
Hey, I'm taking the Steelers.
If I'm
You're trying to win per
heart,
Manny's,
I'm picking the Steelers. If I'm trying to win the competition against Derpy,
sometimes you have to do some things you don't want to do.
Yeah, you got to do some things that only Peaches would do.
Yeah. Oh, Phil is still. I'm taking the Steelers. I don't know what these bums are doing. Yinzer Joe says I'm thinking Arthur Smith's job is on the line. On, you know what? I think he's okay with that because I mean he's already getting a head coach job.
Yeah.
Mike, and what does he do? I mean, you know that he didn't have much success. He was 7-10, 3 years in a row with Atlanta.
Yeah,
and he was more successful as an offensive coordinator in Tennessee, and then also what does he do?
For me, Arthur Smith is just an offensive coordinator. You keep him as an offensive coordinator. He's not a head coach.
All right.
But I think Pittsburgh should move on from him.
Yeah, I do too. Yinzer Joe, you got the Steelers 17-14. Like I said,
That's
guys, if they keep it low, ugly, close, and physical, I think the Steelers win this game. Something around, what Yinzer Joe is saying there, guys. It's going to be a Steeler-Raven game. We can't let them go out there and impose their will on us the way they did last time. We're chasing guys all over that secondary all game. It was a disaster. So maybe these injuries that they have will certainly play to our advantage. Maybe, and hopefully we can get Chris Boswell back and healthy by Saturday night. But I'm taking the Steelers too. Under a one-score game. I don't know. Maybe in the teens, maybe or low 20s. But that'd be my pick. Brother man, if Russ Ball's out Saturday and we do good in the playoffs, is he coming back next year?
I don't know.
I'm not paying him that
That's a
much.
lot of ifs.
You know
what? Ask me that question on Monday.
Age.
Ask me that question on Monday. It's hard. That's a tough one. It's I think it's complicated. I mean, we could really dissect that question in many ways. But let's see how this weekend goes first. Steel defense is going to F up number 8. You know what? I agree. I think Steelers win this game, guys. Of course, I'm not trying to win a competition, but I do think the Steelers will win. I always pick my Steelers. Darpy, anything before we roll for today, brother?
3 things.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom.
We're from the town with the great football team. We cheer the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. Got some
And
Pittsburgh
Mike
polka.
is bald.
And Mike is bald. He got all of his taglines in one sentence. I like it.
I did.
And he even had the smoke alarm sing along with him in the Steeler polka song.
I know.
It was perfect. Perfectly synchronized.
Terrible, bro.
Mike, what about you, man? Anything before we roll for today?
No, I got nothing.
Go Notre Dame. No, I'm joking.
You know what?
Yeah, big game, man.
Big game. I will not be watching it. I cannot watch Penn State play. I turn into a
Derpy. He literally does not watch a Penn State game. It's insane.
Really?
He's here.
Really?
He'll go in the other room and sit. It's. I've never seen anything like it. He's that insane over Penn State football.
I watched the Boise game, and the things that I was saying, was
not Mike.
I was shocked. Yeah, what I was saying at my TV. Yelling at 19 to 20-year-old kids playing.
I do also want to thank Corey Ivy. Greatly appreciated for him coming in, giving us some insight. As Jen said on the board, he was very, very honest, and I appreciate that. It gave us a little bit of a look behind enemy lines. And like I said, a good guy as well. It's nice to have him in and talk to him. I do want to say thank you to everybody for checking us out and coming and hanging out today. We appreciate each and every one of you. We truly, honestly do. We wouldn't do it without you. Believe me. I want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting. Everybody at home as well. Brother Man says, can the Chargers beat Kansas? I think the Chargers can beat Kansas City.
They can if the NFL allows it.
Exactly. Take that as how you want, but I think Derpy nailed that one right on the head. If the NFL allows it, I think the Chargers could beat them as well. But I think that's it, guys. Anything else? Yammer Yager bobbleheads Saturday, Mike. You gonna get down and try to get one this year?
Yeah. Just I just need a couple people to look out and make sure I can back my rig up to the semi. And I'm gonna get bobbleheads.
All right, guys. So tonight you do have your Penguins and your Oilers. The Oilers are in town tonight. Penguins trying to get back on track. And also the Notre Dame Penn State game. That's huge. That's going to decide one half of who plays in the national championship. So check that out. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about that and a lot more. Also, Phil still says stay away from ping pong. You got to be a Dum Yinzer to bet against our Steelers. Never bet against. I agree. They are two Dum Yinzers, those two. But like I said, Penguins tonight. They play the Oilers. Penn State at it tonight. They play Notre Dame. That game starts at 7:30. Tomorrow, the Ohio State-Texas game, and tomorrow we'll also be getting ready to head into the weekend with the biggest game of the week, the playoff game in Baltimore between the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday evening. We'll be back tomorrow to
two other things
to delve back into that and figure out what the Steelers have to do to walk away with the win. We'll look at strategy. We'll look at keys to winning and also over-unders tomorrow. Yeah, go ahead, Derpy. What's up, bro?
First, I believe today was the anniversary for the pick 6 for Palomalu.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the AFC Championship. Yep.
Wow.
And secondly, don't be a Brian and hate against TJ, all right? That's my lesson today.
All right. There you go. You heard it from Derpy and his smoke alarm.
You heard it from Derpy.
All right, guys. I do believe that's everything. Mike, speak now or forever hold your peace, brother.
I got nothing, man.
Derpy?
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.
All right, yes. Thank you so much for hanging out. Again, thank Corey Ivy for stopping by and talking to us. Greatly appreciated. We appreciate all you guys. Again, stop back tomorrow. First thing, we'll be back and getting ready to head into the weekend, getting ready for this playoff game against the Ravens Saturday. We hope that everybody has a great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.